business. And this time, we are actually home in Sweden because we want to, we have Marie-Claire here who's going to tell you everything about doing business in Sweden. We have actually traveled the whole, so Marie-Claire knows that we have traveled virtually to Japan in the morning, India, we were in Israel, in Germany, in France, and now it's time to be in Stockholm with you. So, well, you can start your presentation now.
Hello, everyone. So I invited some of you to a virtual fika, which is a big thing here in Sweden. I actually have a typical Cinnabon bun with me here. It would have been truly nice to have the innovation days here in Sweden. So hopefully we can see a lot more of you guys coming over. But this is something on the cultural aspect that if you haven't been to Sweden yet, you'll see a lot of fika going on and the informal meeting style. But let me now dig into my presentation, tell you a little bit more about Sweden as a country, and also deep dive into what is so particular with our innovation system. So welcome to Sweden. My name is Marie-Claire Maxwell. I work for Business Sweden, which is the Swedish trade and investment promotion agency. We support Swedish companies on their international journey, and we also want to attract investors and global headquarters to the European Union and to Sweden, of course. We have 43 offices across 39 countries and cover most of the continents. So right now we have also focused more on different industry practices. You can see them right here. So please feel free to contact me, and then I can guide you to our colleagues working in these practices in Sweden, but also around the globe. So a few things about Sweden first. Sweden is a large country, but very few people live here. Only 10 million people in a country that is actually the third largest in the European Union. We are governed by democracy. Actually, some 100,000 years ago, our nation was covered by ice. And you may have heard of the Sami people living up north, reindeers. There's a constant question, where does Santa live, right? Some people say that it's thanks to the darkness and the fact that it's so cold that we stay indoors and maybe develop games or come up with great ideas in front of the fireplace. One thing that is very important to us is to protect equality. It doesn't matter who you love, who you believe in, or where you work. Everyone is welcome. And we do hope to see more international talent and ideas coming to our nation. Our nature is very, very close to our hearts. We love to be in the forest, picking berries, reflecting over new ideas. And we invite everyone to have lunch or dinner. There is a great campaign going on at the moment where you can book a table somewhere in some of our natural reserves, for example. You may have heard of our welfare system. The fact that you will see a lot of dads running around drinking cafe latte is something that puzzles a lot of Swedes, or a lot of people coming to Sweden, I would say. So be prepared to see the whole family working together to support innovations. One great thing is that the schooling is free for all. We have 10 years of compulsory education, and then it is easy to move on into higher education as well. ABBA started the journey of bringing global stars in the music scene. Our beloved Avicii is another star, but it doesn't stop in the music industry. There are many in sports like Zlatan or Björn Borg back in the days. Now it's time for me to dig a little bit deeper into our innovation ecosystem. I do really believe that innovation has never been more crucial. And that's why we really want to invite the world to come to Sweden. We do believe that it's so important to collaborate, and that we need a collaborative approach to solve a lot of the issues and problems that's facing us. Greta is perhaps the most known Swede these days. A holistic approach to innovation is required, we believe. This is to foster sustainable development, system innovation, and this is mainly done through collaboration. Not so long ago, in the 18th century, Sweden was one of the poorest nations. But we have managed to turn our forest into something really, really great, where we now also can find ideas to make new clothes. So therefore, our nation is topping many of the scoreboards globally, be it innovation indexes or SDG goals. We are also famous to have created a world-class startup scene. Many of you might have heard that we are so proud that we are boasting about how many unicorns we have per capita, just after Silicon Valley. Korean Spark Lab Ventures have also nominated our ecosystem being world leading, and other European indexes are also letting us know that we have a really, really strong digital capacity to support the ecosystem. So what is the secret sauce? How come we are so innovative, apart from the coldness and the forest and the nature and some of the things that I mentioned earlier? Well, we do believe that unlocking the potential of everyone is very important. And we are happy to say that we have the highest female employment rates in Europe. We have a welfare system that is creating a safety net. You saw the Swedish dad playing with his kids. Equal opportunities for men, almost, or we are trying to get there, to support families to work and support each other. Extensive vacation. During the summers, we have 4 or 5 weeks off, and this is something a lot of friends and people around the world can be quite jealous of. Perhaps this gives us the time to reflect upon what is important and ponder about some new ideas going ahead. We have a very strong belief in the power of creativity. Maybe you have read some books about Pippi Longstocking or danced around to ABBA. We are really pushing this in our schools and try to keep that also in our work life going forward. The Swedish management style is really pushing for creativity and critical thinking, no matter where you are in the organization. And this is something that is very important, that these flat organizations are really supporting and helping ideas from the floor reaching also the top management. I mentioned the cinnamon bun and how important it is to have fika opportunities with your colleagues. Decisions through consensus. You meet in a lot of players in the ecosystem to take on a new decision or a new roadmap. These type of things are very important for us to it might take some time, but once we have discussed things within the company and with important stakeholders, we can push through decisions. Many nations might claim that they are open to technologies, but I would say that here in Sweden, this is something we have really in our DNA. Some of our old industries like Ericsson and ABB really started early in their globalization journey and are here to stay. So we have a world-class infrastructure since a long time to support us. It doesn't matter if you are new today, you can really rely on the ecosystem that has been around for quite some time. So this infrastructure in terms of computers or fiber, transportation, etc. is there. And as I spoke about earlier, the openness and the progressiveness is something that can foster and help us to move forward. Innovation and tech-friendly society. Like in many clusters around the world, in Silicon Valley or in Greater Bay Area, you have many companies in one area. In downtown Stockholm or on the West Coast or even up north in Umeå, you can see that you have both the large corporations, the co-working spaces, the investors working closely together to push for new R&D, for new innovation, and for new ideas to foster. Despite being such a small nation, I mentioned earlier, only 10 million people, we spend a lot of R&D. You see, you can compare with other countries like South Korea, Israel, and Taiwan. And which areas are very important for us? The business sector, the public is also quite high, which is something I'm coming back to. I'm sure you've heard and maybe seen the festivities from Sweden during the Nobel. And it's actually coming up quite soon. December 10 is the next ceremony. I'm sure it will be a little bit different this year, but regardless, we have nominated and selected the winners of this year. So I hope you will watch on TV from this year's activities. The interesting thing is that we have 3% of the world's top universities, despite being such a small population. So you can understand that academic excellence and focus on universities is something that we appreciate. Another sector, which is of course very important, is the business sector. So you'd have the academic and the business sector. I'm sure you have seen some of these brands, be it the traditional ones that I've mentioned earlier, like Ericsson and ABB, but you also have other companies like Klarna, now the largest fintech company in Europe, EF, EdTech, H&M, Spotify, Mojang behind Minecraft, and King, also on everyone's phone with Candy Crush. So these companies are, of course, pushing the innovation scene, not only from their R&D perspective, but also in close collaboration with the ecosystem in general. ABB's example of Synderleap is something that is often brought up as a very, very strong and special case of great collaboration between the large company and the startup and tech scene. But we also have a very innovative public sector. So it's the academic, the business, and the public sector. Here's a screenshot from the tax authorities. Today it is super simple to make use of your mobile phone and do your returns via the phone. So the innovation and the collaboration and calls for action to support the aging population, or in these COVID-19 times, is also coming very much from the public sector. So you can see how this quadruple helix system is working together. The industry, the academia, the government, but also civil society. So this mix is something that is another very, very important part of the secret sauce of why Sweden is such an innovative country and topping all those indexes. Moving into the future, Sweden has taken a few strategic decisions where we want to position ourselves. And those are smart cities, examples where we have delegations from all over the world coming over here to see how we recycle and have really implemented that in our society. The next generation of travel and transport, it doesn't only go back to the traditional Volvos and Saabs, be it personal or business transportation. Nowadays, we see it in really the next generation of electronic speedboats or in superhighways. The circular and the bio-based economy, as I mentioned earlier, the forest gave us the trees, but it can also give us dresses. Or here, an example of a bottle that is made out of paper. Life science, I think the current pandemic has naturally put even more focus on this area, and with Nobel and some of our very strong universities in this field, as well as large corporations like AstraZeneca, this is a field where we are focusing more and more in Sweden. Connected industry and new materials. We need to keep innovating our traditional industry. This is perhaps something that other nations don't have to do in the same way if you haven't got the long history that we do. But we haven't stopped the wheels, but rather really focused on making sure that the industry is coming up with new materials, but also focusing on making it even smarter. I really want to highlight a few things. There is a great collaboration with a new organization called AI Sweden. Together with our innovation agency, they have just recently mapped out some of the most innovative and qualified companies that are actually working with AI. So there are now 89 verified startups, and you can check out the map at aistartuplandscape.se. And also for new companies who are keen to be listed here, this is an ongoing process. So of course, AI is on everyone's mind, and how we position Sweden, Europe, in the world, something that we are thinking about quite a bit as well. Another thing that we are very proud of in Sweden, and the capital Stockholm as well, is the fact that it is a global hub for headquarters. And in Europe, it is the third biggest after London and Paris, with around 22. So we do hope that we see more talent, more international companies. So far, it has mainly been in the ICT and in the fintech space. But we hope that more ideas and more companies also from areas in sustainability are turning their eyes and choosing Stockholm as the headquarters for Europe at least. So please go to invest.com and you can download this report to learn more about how the ecosystem in Sweden and in Stockholm can support globalization. We have another example where quite recently a Korean startup center has set up here in Stockholm. So we see that before I was really very much pushing for the startup scene in Sweden to have someone from Asia on the C-level board, but now it seems like the world is turning to Sweden and the Nordics, and that it's important to have a Viking as a mentor or investor to build a successful unicorn or a global company. So there is something in our DNA, be it the coldness or all of these other things that I have been talking about when it comes to having a supporting welfare system, the academic, the business. Put all these together, and you have the recipe. Maybe not so easy to copy, but we do want to invite the world to come here to keep co-creating new ideas, because we believe that it's now or never that we have the opportunity to change and act together, or we must really. And we have the UN sustainability goals ahead, and we need to invite the world to make these changes together. So that was my crash course to Sweden. I hope you can, or you got a little bit inspired what's happening here, and you can download the presentation and also find the links to the reports that I mentioned in the YouTube link or in the other channels where we are sharing this presentation. So I will stop sharing now and head back to the Q&A, I guess.
Yeah, thank you so much for the great presentation. If you have any questions for her, leave them in the chat and I will start reading them. But I have an announcement to make actually, because you said something about the AI Swedish landscape that we launched in the end of October. And now actually during Innovation Day, on the first day, the 17th of November, at, if I'm not wrong, 19:30 after the conference, we are going to launch the European AI.
Oh wow,
landscape.
That's amazing! This is a collaboration with
France and with Have AI France, if I'm not wrong, it's called like that, and then with Applied AI in Germany. And we are going to have actually more than those 89 startups that you have seen in Sweden, because many applied afterwards. So I know that we are going to have a few more. And in total, between the three countries, we are going to have over 500 startups. So
that's
if
incredible.
You're in, exactly. So everyone is welcome to join that session. And then I have a few questions myself.
Good.
Shoot. Something that you mentioned, and I think I've been living in Sweden for 8 years. So I'm still like, like I have one foot here and another foot like outside Sweden. And something that really from the very first day that amazed me about Sweet and I think that it's part of your DNA and something that you mentioned. There are two things that I think that they go along, and it's collaborations and consensus.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about collaborations and consensus? How it comes to, how do you have like this search for consensus when you try to collaborate? How does it work in reality?
I think we really realize that our market is so small. So when you want to bring a product or an idea globally, you need to reach out to partners, to be it within your own ecosystem, or to other ecosystems, or even competitors to find new ways. I think we are not so afraid to test and see whether someone can boost our idea or take it further. I think that is one way where we see that maybe we have come up with something, but are there other elements, or are there other people who can make it even better? How can we bring this to a large corporation? How can we then implement it faster? How can we scale it globally? You can sell it on your own, but you can also maybe make use of the global IKEA network, or somehow find new friends, which is so much easier today when we have a digital world, and we have been forced to to even more so today as well during this pandemic to reach out to our network and friends. I think this is something which is really, we are so used to it because our own market is so small, and we need to go global from day one. So we test our idea in Korea and we test it in Brazil, maybe at the same time to see if it flies. So usually our products and ideas that are being launched today, they have already been kind of verified globally. And I think that is, it might sound to Swedes as a no-brainer, but when I meet startups from Asia, they have been very focused on their own markets that are huge. So they haven't really tested and verified that their product works globally.
And then, which ones would you say are the challenges that Sweden is facing right now, and that startups from abroad can help us also in this collaboration to find the solutions for these challenges?
I think we need, I mean, although we are we're bragging about the fact that we have a very strong unicorn scene and we have capital, we have mentors. I do believe we have a lack of insights about several markets, and also the goals, the UN sustainability goals are big. So we really need to kind of nurture our ecosystem with talent, with ideas that we can develop together. We have a specific climate up here, be it cold, but we might have great ideas for solar power in Africa. So it doesn't mean that the innovation must have a home kind of in your own market, but you can really nurture each other on a global scene if you sort of invite everyone to the table. So I think there is such a global war on talent. So we must make sure that people collaborate in a much stronger way, I think.
Yeah. Remember, everybody, that you can leave your questions in the chat. I still have a few more myself. And another one, because they are now all the startups from, like countries like from South Korea to India, Israel, Germany, Canada, Brazil, and they have such a different culture to Sweden. And they're going to have meetings on 20 minutes. Which are your tips for those meetings to succeed when they meet a Swedish corporate?
Well, I think probably they are not used to the fact that it's so easy to maybe get access to such a high level, and that the meetings can be rather informal, usually over these fika-style meetings. But I think can be also quite visionary and straightforward. What is your offering? Be as concrete and operational sort of as possible. How can this benefit? Don't be afraid to approach large corporations with ideas. And I think these days there are definitely ways to find the right people in many organizations to make sure that they get aware of your idea. But I think even if you can't travel to Sweden now, there are so many great opportunities like this event today. But there are other ways to find investors or do matchmaking or participate in digital events that is highlighting what's happening in Sweden and in the Nordic region. We also have 5 Nordic innovation houses around the world. One in Silicon Valley, one in New York, one in Hong Kong, covering the Greater Bay Area, one in Singapore for Southeast Asia, and also quite recently one in Tokyo. So if you are in any of these markets, it's a great way to, get in touch with companies or with people who are trying to expand into these markets. Or if you are a large corporate or an investor in Tokyo, keen to learn more about AI solutions in Sweden and in the Nordics, it can be a lead generator and a stepping stone to get to know more. So apart from the Business Sweden offices out there and the Team Sweden, we also have these Nordic. Since the Nordic market kind of makes sense from a global perspective to look at as well.
And if you have to say, and to like, which are the big do's, the one do and one don't when you have a meeting online with the Swedish corporates, what would you say? Do this and it will go good. Don't do this if you want the meeting to succeed.
I think in general, fuck ups or even mistakes is not something that we are afraid of. A lot of the entrepreneurs in Sweden have had a pretty bumpy road. So I think it's always about being passionate about what you do, sharing your passion, and the paid forward culture is something I think we have learned more about. Maybe Swedes have been a bit protective before and not so much. Maybe a bit. We have the jantelagen, a bit jealous of others. But I think the Stockholm and the Swedish scene has become way more open and international and more inviting than we were before. We were very outgoing, but perhaps not as receiving. So I think this is something that has changed. So we have become way more open. So I don't know if there are some like really specific do's and don'ts, but I think we are super keen. Most Swedes are really good at English and are keen to listen to new ideas. And if it has something to do with sustainability, our ears are probably even bigger. If I don't think you need to sing an ABBA song or put any specific cultural sort of aspects or filters, but rather really just bring your idea to the table and don't be afraid to make sure that it just ends up in the right or comes to the right person. So if it doesn't work in the first place, keep going and try to pull your friends in the network to guide you further. And of course, ask for constructive feedback if along the way. I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs and mentors here are kind of free and happy to give constructive feedback as well. So maybe take the opportunity to get some input to your idea. If they don't like it, maybe ask them to support you further.
Those are great tips. Something else that you said that I think that maybe startups from abroad, when they have these meetings, have to take into account is that you said that sometimes we have longer discussions here in Sweden before we take a decision.
Sure.
What can you say to them about that and how they can better follow up after the meeting?
Well, maybe the decision process might feel a little bit longer here, or that it takes time. But once it has been sort of discussed and then it becomes very quickly implemented. But I think it's always as a startup, you are more eager. You probably have more pressure. So it's about being persistent, I guess, and not give up and don't be afraid to remind people. A lot of people are busy and have calls from many places. But I don't know if it's possible to. Maybe it's good to, I guess, you can contact several people within the ecosystem so that if you're a new company and maybe unheard of, people start to hear it from several players and to kind of warm up the ecosystem to some new ideas or so. But yeah.
No, go on.
No, so I don't think, unfortunately, there are no like secret weapon to speed us. But and also our work-life balance that we cherish. And I think this is also healthy for everyone to perhaps slow down or think twice, and especially maybe this is something that the current pandemic has taught many of us, that it is good to reflect upon what is important.
Well, maybe a big don't is don't phone anyone during the weekend.
Yeah, could be like
6 or 7.
Yeah, maybe I think that should be a global rule, that we think more about personal time and so. But perhaps that is something you see more from a Swedish perspective, that you're out of office, or that you don't contact people too late, or during the weekends, and during the summer period. Well, then it is almost impossible to get things going. Of course, we are also adapting to sort of an international pace, and I think especially the tech and startup scene that never sleeps. So that is for sure changing. But if you're pitching or talking to larger players or larger companies, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and one thing about the holidays, like most of the European countries and most of the Northern Hemisphere, they take holidays in August, while in Sweden and Scandinavia we take holidays in July. That's something to take into account.
Exactly. The schools from mid-June to mid-August, so it's like a 2-month period, the schools. So a lot of things are following the school calendar, and the Christian holidays around Christmas and New Year, Easter, etc. And I guess midsummer, crayfish parties. There are those big cultural events that if you haven't explored them overseas, they will be, in addition to the cinnamon buns, something that people appreciate to take you to when you visit Sweden.
Then another thing that you mentioned, and maybe you can tell a little bit more about it, is the Jantelagen, which is something that is part as well of the DNA of Swedes. But maybe the rest don't understand what you are talking about when you say it. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, I guess it has kind of two sides. It's something about being modest and not showing off, and this can sort of be the positive sides, that we are not the bragging type of people. But on the other hand, if you're really good at something, be it math in school, or that you have been able to buy something or do something or can sing or whatever it is, perhaps people around you might think that you're boasting, or why should so and so show off like that. So it can be perhaps limiting to people who are a bit extraordinary in one way or another. And maybe before the focus was more to produce a lot of students or people with the same kind of equal knowledge, and we were not fostering people with specific talents, more focusing on helping those underperforming. Of course, it's very important to support both these the best ones and those underperforming as well. So it's not an easy task to kind of solve this, but it is a word, Jantelagen, that has also made a lot of talent and companies leave Sweden because they don't feel that there's nurture or ground or an ecosystem that is supporting them enough, be it from the government or from universities or schools or your peers. I guess myself, I left for Asia when I was only 19, 20. I felt it very hard to start a company as a woman at that time. Startups and tech and entrepreneurship wasn't as widely discussed or invested in at that time. So it was easier for me to start a limited company in Hong Kong rather than in Stockholm. So I guess that has changed quite a lot. But yeah, it is still a word or a feeling you might encounter here in the Nordics or in Sweden.
Yeah, but it's important because if you start maybe your meeting saying we are the best in the world, maybe Swedes won't like it too much.
Could be. I think also if you're a startup and you can say that, hey, we have this idea that no one else has thought of, I think you're kind of forgiven, or this is why we want to listen to that company, right? So, but still, maybe we don't want too much boasting about how good or how great you are. I guess we are more modest in that sense.
Yeah, I have another. You can leave the questions, so it's not just my questions. But then another thing that people normally tend to outside Sweden, they normally tend to talk about the Nordics, like one single thing. What can you say about it? Because I find myself that the Swedes are very different to the Danes and to the people in Norway, and the innovation ecosystem is also quite differently, and the business scene is quite differently as well. So what can you say about it to a startup, like maybe they have one image of Nordic, like just one common thing?
Yeah, I mean the Nordic market is very important, and I guess we push and pull each other, and you would see that in many of the different ecosystems, be it in fintech or gaming, edtech, there are a lot of Nordic collaboration. Then I think we have some different industries, like in Finland, Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. We can look at the global brands and see that we have more oil and fish from Norway. It's more agricultural products or Legos from Denmark. Sweden has another more traditional industry in the forest and mining and telecom. And Finland also from more traditional industrial companies or what the nature has sort of given us to work with. Much larger countries compared to Denmark, but the Danish footprint is very large, but with completely different products. And then you have different events like Slush for the tech and startup scene. That is a big global event in Helsinki. So and then we have Sweden Innovation Days or Sustain Tech Day, Sweden Demo Day. So different type of events that pulls either investors or large corporations to this region. So it can be a great idea to, if you haven't been here before, a lot of people go to the different capitals to find out or to connect. I think we are also working together, as I mentioned earlier, in the Nordic innovation houses to be able to put our region on the map together.
Well, I have here a comment. It's not a question, but I will read it, and maybe you have something to comment about it. This is from Stanis. If I may make a comment, there were many advantages about Sweden mentioned. However, for someone who wants to start his own business, there is little support, I find. I quit my job to create a startup and I received no financial help whatsoever. In France, for example, as far as I know, from 5 years ago, I could focus on my business for 1 or 2 years and receive unemployment money. This is not the case at all in Sweden, although the taxation is quite high. Do you have something to comment about it? Because maybe he's right. We have spoken about like all the great things in Sweden. So maybe also we can mention apart from these 1 or 2 things that you might think that are not working so good here.
Yeah, I think, one thing that we are really is how hard it is to find a flat or somewhere to live.
Yeah.
That is one. Usually, in many other countries, you can just look in any newspapers or online, and depending on your budget, you can find a place to live. So naturally, so it's from quite. From getting your visa in Sweden, or the more practical arrangements can be hard. Also, the climate, if you've never lived in a cold country, that can be a strain. But then it's more related to when you structure the incentives for shareholders or investors or talent. There are a lot of more, how to say, company-related strategic issues that I think the startup ecosystem is constantly pushing the government and other stakeholders to change and to sort of upgrade and make them more modern, so that we can attract talent and investors from around the world to Sweden, instead of the fact that some companies are starting to move out to find talent or to invest their money in other ecosystems rather than in the Swedish. So if we want to grow the companies in Sweden, we really have to make sure that we keep nurturing the Swedish companies with talent and investments and market opportunities globally, but that they can grow here rather than only abroad. But of course, there are probably different views how much support you can get depending on which industry you are in, and what type of government support and funding there is. Tillväxtverket, Vinnova, Arbetsförmedlingen, etc. For sure, it can be hard to break through to get capital or investments from this ecosystem that is available. But it is not an easy thing to start something new. So you have to convince yourself and other peers that it's that they should join you, and then also markets and investors about your product and idea. I don't know in this specific case the circumstances why Hen felt it difficult, but I'm sure there can be more improvements for sure. We do want to see more international accelerators, incubators to come to Sweden to also facilitate and make it easier for people to start companies, also coming from abroad.
Well, I have my last question, and it's something that you have mentioned, and maybe we can tell to the rest, because we talked about COVID-19. I'd like to know, I would, if you can tell, like, what's the situation here in Sweden right now, a little bit about what's going on and how it has impacted our business, and especially how it has impacted our startup ecosystem. You can say
I think, a lot of Swedes are working from home, like myself, and it has indeed speeded up the digitalization and journey for a lot of companies, be it large or small. I think the tech and startup world in general has moved online, and of course it's tricky if you haven't started your globalization journey so much before this pandemic. Then it's harder to go to global events or go to new markets with all these restrictions. And this is something that for us at Business Sweden is so important, that we make sure that we don't stop the wheels, and that our offices in the global markets and also the Nordic innovation houses can be the feet on the ground to support and help the companies who need insights or contacts or contact to investors somewhere else in the world. So I guess, I mean, I'm not going to comment on the government strategy, and we can go into, should you wear masks or not, and have another hour discussion about that and numbers. I think, of course, there are many tragedies, but challenging times are also the time for new ideas to be born, and maybe it's kind of the bloodbath that we're going through in many senses has given us or forced us to think about how do we globalize companies, how do we cooperate, how do we connect, how do we match make globally, etc. So I think, again, Sweden Innovation Days is a new event that is trying to share more insights about the Swedish market and the innovation system here, and creating that platform that is so needed for the Swedish startup scene to be able to meet with the global audience. And so I think we will see and hope that this event and this year can be just elaborated and even better next year.
Yeah, we hope exactly the same. And well, thank you so much for your presentation and for answering all of my questions. And well, we have.
Is there one more in the chat, or I see
I cannot
another
see.
comment, or
no,
maybe
I
it's the
cannot
same.
see any other question.
Oh, okay, cool, good.
But well, thank you, everybody. We still have one more session left with Canada in like about 1 hour. So well, see you there, and thank you so much. Bye bye.
Thank you.